Hello and welcome to this new edition of Immersive Outlook. My name is Sudipta Ghosh. I am a partner in PwC India and I lead the industrial product sector, and I also lead the data analytics and cloud competency. Today we will be talking about Industry 5.0 or the fifth industrial revolution, which looks at from the perspective of resilience, sustainability and human-centric solutions, particularly for the manufacturing sector. And this is the thought process which we are now looking at over and beyond what organizations used to look at from an Industry 4.0 perspective, which was more focused around efficiency and automation of applications in the shop floor. So, joining me today in this very interesting conversation, we have with us Mr. B. Thiagarajan or Thiag. He is the managing director of Blue Star, and he has got over 4 decades of industry experience, particularly around managing multiple organizations, and currently he is leading the operations, the sales and marketing, the customer relationships in his organization. And who better than Thiag to talk about the concepts of Industry 5.0 and how it is applicable not just for his own organization, but also for the industry at large. So, what we are going to do today, Thiag, is to talk about Industry 5.0, but thank you very much for coming over and spending this time to talk about on this very interesting topic of the fifth industrial revolution. While we always knew, and we have done this research in PwC, while we always knew that efficiency and automation is going to be very critical for manufacturing organizations, but what many organizations are now thinking is how to make these applications more sustainable, how to make them more resilient, and also how to ensure that there is a interactivity with humans and machines working together in a symbiotic manner. It is also very important that as organizations build and develop these sophisticated solutions, the upskilling needs to be done for the rest of the organization, so that you can reap the benefits, and also the adoption of these technologies are going to be paramount. So, we are going to kind of get into the details of some of these aspects in our conversation, but just to set the context, we know that manufacturing as a sector, we have an aspiration to make manufacturing as probably 24% or 25% of the GDP's share. And today if you look at the percentage, we have around say 16 or 17%. So, if you want to move from the current level to the future aspiration which we have, we possibly have to grow at double the rate at which our economy is growing, and that is a great ambition to have. So, in that context, would be great to understand your thoughts from an industry and from an organization perspective. What are you seeing from an overall growth perspective in your sector and in the overall manufacturing sector, specifically in the Indian context?
It's such a pleasure interacting with you, Sudipta. The story is the same across various sectors. It is India's decade, driven by many things that are happening around. There is a huge aspiration for growth. Every industry that I look into, say for example, consumer durables and electronics, we are talking about becoming the 4th largest in the world within next 5 years at record rupees 5 lakh crore revenue. And the sector to which I belong, the air conditioner industry, we will more than double by 2030, will become the world's largest by 2040, overtaking China. So, this is the moment where we are talking about scale combined with manufacturing that has to take place. In that context, Industry 5.0 is indeed an interesting one.
When you are talking about this growth and that we are surpassing China in some time in the future, probably there will be a huge amount of focus in looking at the customers, the consumers of our products. And in that context, we are also seeing that there are changing expectations from our consumers. They are going to get more savvy. They are also going to be looking at products which are greener in their perspective. so that they feel almost guilt free in terms of using it. We are seeing that already in many of the export sectors in many other countries as India is becoming a manufacturing hub. So would want to understand your perspectives, Tyag, in terms of what are some of these organizations doing in order to improve that customer centricity in their organization, taking into consideration some of the changing needs and some of the changing expectations of the customers in light of the environmental factors as well.
The very first thing is connected with the cost leadership itself. So what is happening in the manufacturing sector? You are trying to become manufacturing leaders in the country, and you are going to be creating your own component ecosystem. And in that context, it is not going to be dependence on any imports at all. So therefore, the nature of manufacturing itself is changing. With capacities being created, scale is yet to happen, you are trying to make quite a few products for the first time. So there is a cost issue. You got used to imports. Suddenly you have to make products which are competitive from the consumer point of view. So first thing is to deliver a product at the price at which the customer can consume. Then only the scale also will happen. So customer centricity begins with that. The second aspect is connected with life cycle cost as against the initial purchase. So therefore, in quite a few categories, it is connected with the power consumption itself and the carbon footprint otherwise it will create, including the reuse or recyclability and e-wastage. So you are in that situation where you need to look at cost and the products are sustainable and it is creating lower carbon footprint. And most importantly, in a connected world, they want it current. It is advanced technology. Where it happened elsewhere, it should happen here. So you are in exciting times. It is indeed very challenging, but you cannot escape from these dimensions.
When we are talking about this efficiency and cost, we always knew that this is something which you can achieve through your normal convention means of looking at different levers where you can reduce the cost. But now what we are seeing increasingly is that it is getting linked with sustainability initiatives as well. For example, if I am trying to have a conversion process which can reduce my energy consumption or my scope 1 emission, that will solve the twin purpose of not just reducing my cost of energy consumption, but it's also going to make my product look greener, and I can use that as a differentiator in the market, because then people will say, well, you know, you are more green than as opposed to your other competitive products. Now this is mostly something which we are thinking and there is a bit of a concept around it, but it will be good to get your perspective from a practicality perspective, that what are you sensing, and are you seeing that sustainability has moved away from just being a nice to have or a good to have feature to something which is actually going to add to the competitive advantage, whether it is from a customer positioning perspective or even from a cost perspective. It will be great to hear your views on that.
I come from a school of thought, unless and until there is a business case, no one is going to embrace sustainability, especially in a growing country like India with billions of consumers. Whether it is B2B or B2C, you have to make a sound business case why he has to embrace, why the marketeers, manufacturers and service providers will have to embrace sustainability. Take for example air conditioners. There may be a energy labeling program legislated for various purposes, but if I have to sell more, I have to demonstrate that my product consumes lesser energy. Let us say a B2B customer. For him in a ITES data center, the power consumption is a huge cost, and therefore it is very important that the product that is manufactured is highly energy efficient. Now, I do not restrict myself to manufacturing. I think it has to begin with the R&D and conceptualization itself. How I can design a product and create a value proposition around higher energy efficiency. Second part is connected with recyclability, and third part is connected with how even through that recyclability I will be able to offer a benefit to the consumer. Say for example, packaging, whether it can be recycled and whether there is a value for that. That's how you go about. Now, traditional manufacturing is research and development, prototyping, and then you are going ahead and manufacturing. In setting up a manufacturing unit, how efficient that manufacturing unit can be, that begins with the manufacturing engineering itself. I think we are at crossroads. For the first time, we will be looking at the scale. We are all used to creating manufacturing units which are 500,000. Now we are talking about 3 million, 5 million, 10 million kind of manufacturing units. That itself is new, and that kind of a scale, unless and until you are making manufacturing very efficient from all perspectives, the equipment that you use, the productivity that should happen, and power consumption arising out of it, material flow, it's a completely different science according to me.
We are seeing a lot of focus on creation of the digital replica of the supply chain, or creating a digital twin of a product, which is going to simulate some of these challenges. And then when you are simulating them, you are trying to figure out what are the bottlenecks and what are the choke points, and how can I build more redundancies into the supply chain so that I can be more future proof in terms of my continuity, my business continuity going forward. So wanted to kind of get some perspectives from your organization or from the overall industry in terms of what are you seeing some of the shifts in that thought process, which is slightly different from just only looking at efficiency, because here we are looking at business continuity and resilience.
So most of the CEOs, including myself, if we have to list the challenges, I think supply chain challenges will rank number one. And if I am losing sleep, it will be over this particular issue, basically arising out of Make in India, 2, the geopolitical risk involved with over dependence on a few vendors across globe or few countries. Your whole growth strategy can be impacted if a particular component is not going to be available. It may not be substantial in value, but it can stop the production. There are multiple things that are happening. You have to customize the product for the country and its consumers. In few categories like air conditioners, there is a climatic zone according to which you will be designing the product. 3, for the first time you are attempting that kind of scale. 4, you do not have sufficient time to be doing testing, and capacity is not there in R&D to be looking at multiple vendors. The vendor ecosystem is just developing within the country. Now, to make the things resilient, we were deluding ourselves that COVID taught us the lesson. I do not think so. That was momentary. It was only a trigger. But going forward, the manufacturing story will have to look at supply chain in a completely different manner, and it is something which is making us lose sleep.
Shifting gears a little bit, one of the promises of Industry 5.0 is a huge focus on the human centricity. While we talked about customer centricity on one hand in the beginning, we are now talking about the way in which some of these applications are used and developed in an organization. There has been a long debate that whether an algorithm is going to replace a human being, but we have seen that it is never really one versus the other, it has always been one with the other. So how is it that a human being can work very collaboratively with an algorithm or with a bot or with a machine in a very symbiotic manner and make this application even better or more productive going forward? And we talked about the cost efficiency part of it, and maybe the solution lies that we significantly improve our productivity and efficiently deliver these kind of products. So wanted to understand this perspective in terms of how people are taking in some of these technological advancements, and is it that this symbiotic relationship between the man and the machine or human and the machine is actually happening in the shop floor, or you think we have a way to go in this space?
I am very happy that you are thinking this way. In a manner of speaking, Industry 4.0 created a perception that it is not people friendly, specifically the labor friendly one, in a country where employment has been a challenge, and manufacturing is supposed to resolve that problem. Now, I hold a view that we somewhere forgot manufacturing. We woke up, and that world is completely different because of the scale, technology, sustainability, and the smart technologies that are available, and which I keep saying it's like a Rip Van Winkle story. And when you wake up and move forward at a great speed to catch up with the world, and the world is not going to wait. If our aspiration is to be part of the global supply chain, we may have to run faster. It's not only growing at double the speed of India's GDP, but we have to do much more in order to get to that global supply chain ecosystem if we want to succeed. I think it will happen. In that context, the conflict has been this, that how can you leave out the human beings, and in several forums the artificial intelligence, if it is talked about, or machine learning is talked about, this is one of the concerns that are being expressed. The policy makers are clear that it has to be adapted, and we should not forget people, and so it will happen. But in my view, the Industry 5.0 takes into account, apart from sustainability and resilience, human-centric is a laudable thing, and frankly, I never expected that to be brought in. And it is utmost important for the simple reason there is also growing aspirations of the labor force. So on one end, we are struggling for creating the capacity and the skills, and I hold the view manufacturing sector has lost its salience to attract people. Over the services sector, IT boom, sales and marketing, finance, these professions attracted talent, and obviously manufacturing sector was not attracting talent. In order that we change that, embracing technology, IoT, etc., you should bring in the human-centric development there. Now, I think it is possible. There are, and it is the right time to do it for the simple reason, by marrying technology with people, we will be able to solve the current challenges we have got. The important one being the scale itself. In the old way, you will never be able to achieve that scale. The second part is the most important subject, that quality standards which we have to improve, or the speed with which we have to introduce products, you can go ahead and achieve by marrying these two. And the challenge will be, how will you upskill, and how will you ensure that people are able to learn it faster without feeling it is a formidable challenge for them to do.
What is it that right now you are thinking it is happening, or you are seeing it is happening in terms of this reskilling or upskilling of people, so that A, this interaction can happen in a more seamless manner, and B, it can actually help in terms of even adopting some of the solutions which are being built in the organization?
I am passionate about the subject. The very first thing that needs to be done is how you can impart even skilling through technology. So you are having today solutions using artificial intelligence, making it friendly and make people learn faster. The second part is connected with given that the people migrate from place to place, geotagging and trying to certify them and be able to locate them. That is the second part of it. The third part of it is that indeed you have to look at how their jobs in the shop floor can become much more creative and interesting rather than a boring job of repetitive nature. I think it is beginning to happen, but a long way to go.
In order to kind of summarize, if there is anything else which you think you would want to talk about in terms of what you are seeing from an industry perspective, and any closing thoughts you may have in terms of what is it that we should do, or any suggestions you may have, then that will be great to hear from you, Thiago.
There are two aspects. The first one is connected with the sustainability from environmental point of view. That will always be because of the regulatory requirements, and it is most talked about. But I think we have to keep in mind the UN SDGs itself. For example, the manufacturing was taken as a masculine job, and how we will provide much more inclusion by bringing in women also into that, and with technology that is possible. They have got a lot of role to play in the manufacturing growth story itself. That is one aspect. The second aspect is connected with our traditional thinking. There are exceptions in India, but we are not taught to think big, and that is impacting. Let's say if you have to acquire a land, we are talking about some 50 acres, 100 acres, but if you look at what is going to happen, you have to think 200 acres, 300 acres kind of. And so this is something I think we have to drive home. The equations change at that point of time. If we are going to play a very large role in the global economy, that scale is important. And along with smart technologies, along with sustainability, and along with speed, and that's something which I myself struggle to come to terms with, because you are used to the traditional calculation of ROI, and from financial planning point of view, this paradigm may have to change.
It is very, very exciting times, Thiag, and I think we are very fortunate to have you with us to share that excitement, and we think this is pretty much an inflection point for all of us in terms of how we kind of leapfrog from the current state to the next level of maturity. So with that, I would thank you once again for all your valuable thoughts and comments, and look forward to seeing that some of the things which we discussed is actually going to happen. We all feel very excited to see that growth going forward.
Thank you. It was a pleasure interacting with you. I compliment PricewaterhouseCoopers for identifying these challenges and coming out with Industry 5.0. All the best to you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.